Another great white dwarf is here.
Spiking bits.
What's up, hobby maniacs? Rob Baer with you again today, checking out the newest white dwarf, the November Necromunda edition with all the great hobby bundles, a whole bunch of great hobby insight. There's a ton of paint splatter articles in here. This is one of my favorite in recent times, I feel like, for recipes and original ideas and such. Sometimes I like just looking through this thing just to get ideas and get those hobby juices going and be like, oh man, I could do that, or oh, that's a great idea. This issue I actually learned to put some blue tack down, right? You got some blue tack right here. Put it down on your bases where you think the feet are gonna go so you can glue your guys down a little bit easier. And if you're using pumice, which of course I don't have anything handy to show you, but if you're using pumice on your miniatures, then that would definitely make it a little bit easier as well. You could just move the pumice out as long as it's not too thick. So great hobby ideas right there. Sometimes it's worth checking out the white dwarf. This one probably is worth picking up for you just because it has the little Christmas guide in there, which might help you perhaps, you know, get your significant others or your parent or legal guardian some ideas on what to get you this holiday season. Everybody doesn't like socks. I personally, when you get older, you will want socks. Please get me some socks for Christmas. I love socks or boots, whichever. Those are perfectly acceptable. At this point, that's pretty much all that keeps us older people going, I feel like. So tons of stuff going in here, but real quick, I wanted to show you guys something, and that's why I waited so late to actually record this video, believe it or not, was that Games Workshop, we saw some previews for the new army deals online this week, and then we didn't see them in the white dwarf, and I was like, what the heck's going on? Are these going to stores? It turns out these will probably not be going to physically going to game stores, at least this week. They may call them up next week and be like, hey, you can get this stuff. But as of right now, these are available on Games Workshop only, and some of them have already started to sell out. So if you saw over on Spiky Bits, some of the army deals that were available, and I haven't refreshed this page. Let's refresh this page and see what happens. A few are still sold out. So some really good deals in here. A lot of them I added up. They came to around $270, $280, which represents at least, you know, when you're figuring roughly $80 off, give or take, on a lot of these. And when you figure 80 bucks out of 180, you know, you're talking a good chunk of change, to be quite honest. I'm actually surprised the AdMech army hasn't sold out yet on there. It looks like Drukhari has. So lots of good options there. Now, if I take army out of here, you're gonna see that there is a whole bunch of products in here for, wait, hold on, for new releases this week. I think it was 40, not new releases, for pre-orders. I think it was 42 new ones that we didn't know about. So from the Tyranid army on down to the Hive Shield, we knew about the Citadel, the Everchosen, because we saw it in this issue of White Dwarf, believe it or not. But a lot of layered paint sets and such are in here as well. I mean, there's 5 pages of pre-orders this week. Of course, we're breaking them all down over on Spiky Bits over the next couple of days. But there is a ton of stuff in here. So very interesting indeed what's going on, because if those are not, you might still be able to get them, believe it or not. Let's jump over to the bench and take a look at the white dwarf. So you might actually be able to get some of those from your local game store still, but remember, those are going to be web exclusive, so the discount on them is going to be a little bit different as far as that goes. So check with your local game store. Like I said, Trade might actually give them a call next week and be like, hey, we got some of these thingies, you want to buy them? And it might be all good in the hood, but just keep in mind that when you're doing these special order type deals, the discount is a little bit less for the game store. So just a little food for thought there. And if you haven't heard already, there will be 2 new Codex books along with the chapter approved book coming out at some point. Not exactly sure, but between now and the end of the year. And then first of the year will be Chaos Demons. So we're going to see Blood Angels and we're going to see Dark Angels coming out in the next, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, give or take. I'm sure they won't put anything out on Christmas. But we also know, and we're going to take a look at some of the features in here, that there is stuff coming on the 24th, as far as some terrain and such for Necromunda. So here's the big features in here, and obviously Necromunda, chief among those. There's some cool paint features and such. The big stuff is the Necromunda battle report, how to start a gang, but I was really looking more back here at the paint splatter, the Blanchitsu article this month. Oh, fantastic. Some Golden Demon stuff in here. So I might just keep my finger on this and flip back. But let's look at some of the new releases. So obviously we know Necromunda's coming out. It's 120 bucks. That's going to be probably worth picking up. This is probably marks the first time in a long time. Maybe, I suppose maybe with Shadespire we also saw it too, but that was only a $60 purchase, where where Games Workshop is valuing the game in their formulation of the price, because 2 gangs for $40 each, which you can buy separately over here for $40 each, we already know. For Necromunda, it's like they're valuing the rest. They're putting a price tag on the rest and the templates and the dice and accessories and things, which generally kind of wasn't the case. A lot of times people would just buy these boxes just for the value of the miniatures, I feel like. So that's really cool to see that they're putting a lot of production value and therefore a dollar sign on these endeavors here. And like I said, some of this stuff will be out on the 24th for Black Friday weekend, the terrain sets, which might be pretty fun just to pick up, not just for Necromunda, but for other stuff. They have some Necromunda bases as well, but it looks like only in 25 and 32. I wanted some of these for my Custodes, but I ended up going with some Elric's Hobbies bases instead because they didn't have 40s and 50s. 50s for the Terminators, 40s for the normal. When I say I want a normal Custodes, I think we can all agree they are way above a normal person there. And then, of course, the Underworlds expansions, which come out this week, those also already out. So you already know about these. We don't have to talk about them. And then it gets into the Tyranid stuff, and there isn't too much in here about the Tyranid stuff. And of course, we've already covered it ad nauseum on the site, and we'll have a wrap-up video probably here shortly on it as well. The early favorite looks to be Kronos, because it really messes with Chaos and Psychers in general. And then there's some reviews on the Eldar stuff. Now let's jump to some of the Necromunda features, which I feel like are definitely worth checking out. So there's the layout and some inspirational drawings and such. They have some really cool background in here, going back to the old days as well. But it's just a cool read, like just going through it, just reading it all, how it all works. You know, some of the sculptor Rob McFarlane's talking about all the stuff he worked on in this kit, and then they give you some little tidbits about how the game works. Now I'm sure you'll be able to get some demos and stuff for, why did I even leave that paintbrush there, for all of this here soon at your local game store. I'm sure they'll get preview copies ahead of time. Here's the battle report in here. These guys are looking fresh. I love those bases, man. I wish they made those bases in a larger size. Come on, guys. And lots of the mechanics and things, you know, turning on the side, knockdown, stunned, and all that. We've seen that in the past. And then it gets into, this actually is pretty cool. If you haven't got the Firestorm campaign book, it looks to be pretty cool. I want to play it here at the studio, but we have not logged any games for it yet. It's still, you know how hard it is to cat herd people into playing stuff with you. And then they've got the White Dwarf Heavy Metal Masterclass section in here. A lot of rampant speculation about who. Oh, here's that tip I was talking about here, where you put the blue tack over the bases, and when you paint them, you just take it off. But you see, you line them up, and then you put the blue tack on there, so that way you know kind of which guy goes on what base. What did I want to show you guys? I think that was it. Okay, so there. Oh yeah, there's more paint stuff here. So the paint splatter is going to feature, of course, the Goliaths and the Eschers in here. Great features. I really like this particular feature right here on the chevrons, painting chevrons on your bases and scratching them all up. Then some extra stuff on painting flesh tones. This is a great feature for anybody that wants to paint dark flesh. It's usually pretty challenging. A lot of Salamander players out there, or anybody out there for Age of Sigmar type stuff. This is always proves to be very challenging, so it's cool to see this guide in here. And then of course the guys out of what was that game? Dread. Oh dang it! It's on the tip of my tongue. It's a little board game that has the 4 corn dudes. I totally forgot what it was. It came out like a year ago. Anyways, those guys are really cool to paint up, all like tanned flesh and, you know, gladiatorial, like out in the bleach sun and such like that. So that's really cool to see. Then they got some stuff in here on the Eldar and painting all the Eldar gems and stuff. I liked this dark sandy paint scheme here for bases. I kind of think you should keep the lip black here around this just to provide contrast, unless you got a really dark miniature up there. But that's just my 2 cents personally. Talking about masking and things, this of course works really good if you're using an airbrush and you make sure all the surfaces are you know, definitely taped down. You can use a nib, or you could just use some form of, let me see if I get one here. You can just use some form of, yeah, here's a nib. Nibs are pretty cool because it's just like cork almost, and it'll, you know, you can just press down and it's just cork. It's not going to ruin anything. It's not going to chip any paint or anything like that. So those are super useful, or anything just kind of plasticky for pushing, you know, any sort of masking down around areas that you don't want to get messed up. The Blanjitsu feature in here is fantastic. I love this church. We've seen the guy that actually made something like this. We featured on Spiky Bits. He's an artist. He did all sorts of crazy gothic like models and stuff, and took them out to the salt flats and took pictures of them. I'm sure this is inspired by that, but man, it just really works. You know, taking the Garden of Moor, I think it was called, now it's called something different, and it comes in a bigger box. It's very hard to keep all these products straight, but putting that, the little cathedral, the little mausoleum on Thorax tracks is just hilarious to me. And then putting the front of the Kazmarov, the Inquisitor Kazmarov, I believe it is, on that as well, just really puts it over the top and kind of sets the whole tone. All this stuff in the back, all these scratch builds and craziness for all their little war bands. I love this stuff. You know, John Blanche has really inspired a lot of artists out there and created a whole style in and of itself that's just amazing. And then here's the Christmas guide. You can actually pull this out if you want. I'm sure they'll have these at the Games Workshop stores, and that's where we saw the ones with the army books. And you can, you know, kind of fill it out and take it home, give it to your parents, give it to your significant other or whatever. And, you know, that way they can figure out what to get you besides socks. Again, if you want to buy me anything for Christmas, I love socks. That's what happens when you get old. People always ask me, like, yo, what do you want for Christmas? I was like, yo, give me some, like, cat socks or something, man. I love cat socks. So there it is. The big November White Dwarf. I think it's a great issue. Lots of cool hobby content in here. Lots on the horizon as well that we don't quite know about yet. We know that there are 2 new Codex books coming out by the end of the year, the chapter approved book, so lots and lots more exciting times. And the Mystic Blight Hauler for Nurgle, for Death Guard, still is out there somewhere. Don't know where, but it's a really exciting time out there. You know, Games Workshop really brings the value sometimes with some of these bundles, but obviously we don't have the whole picture yet. There are still stuff available over on their game store or their web store. So if you're interested in some of these army bundles, it may not be something that you see at your local game store. You're going to have to maybe go through them, or perhaps get them from Games Workshop themselves via their web exclusive or their mail order system. I think the number is 1-800-394-GAME. Don't ask me how I know that. I've been calling it for many, many years. So that's it for this one, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our video review and a little bit of colorful commentary, hopefully, on the White Dwarf and the new Christmas holiday bundles, as well as a little bit of news.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.